In the mountains, if you listen carefully, you will hear silence. The chirping of the birds, the murmur of wind in the trees, and the soft chuckle of the streams, and your own breath are elements in that great symphony of silence. South of Himalayas, the highest peak is this, Anamudi, at 2,694 meters. This is ERAVIKULAM National Park, the last refuge of the Nilgiri Thar. Several years ago, humans too came into this world.
മുതവാനെന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത് ആറ്റിത്തർന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ ഈ തലയെക്കെട്ടും ഒരു കൊച്ചു സെൻസ് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ
Our people came to these hills hundreds of years ago from the Madurai plains. We carried our children on our backs. That's why we are called Muduvan. Mudu means back. When the white people came, we carried their guns as they hunted the tiger, elephant, sambar, gaur and the vareyadu. Not very long ago, the faraway hills were as forested and as virginal as these hills of ERAVIKULAM. Grasses swayed in the highland winds, trees and bushes were cloistered in the nooks, and streams gushed out of every gully. But then, the white man had to have his morning cup of tea. History of ERAVIKULAM is the history of the high ranges. It is more or less the history of all mountainous regions in South India. It is the history of just another conquest of the European as he lay bare the land, stripping her of the green cloak, ripping off her dignity and beauty. The high ranges came to the notice of the British in 1790 during the campaign against Tipu Sultan. It was not until 1862, when General Douglas Hamilton stood upon Anamudi Peak, that the magnificence of these mountains caught the attention of the Queen's men.
Surpassingly grand and incomparably beautiful. The views from this mountain are the grandest and most extensive I have ever beheld. This is far beyond my power to describe and must be seen to be appreciated.
For the white planter of the Victorian era, hunting God's creations was the prime recreation. The remaining Thar and Gaur in the area were cordoned off inside what is now known as ERAVIKULAM National Park, its high plateaus and valleys unfit for tea. Not for the necessity of food, but a simple blood sport. Hunters would say that controlling poaching and population is their noble motive, pleasure just its reward. Depletion of game due to excessive hunting became a matter of serious concern, giving rise to the concept of conservation. Hunters became champions of conservation. The High Range Game Preservation Association came into being in 1928. Tight controls were imposed on hunting. Due to intensive lobbying by hunter-turned-naturalists like M.R.P. Lappin, J.C. Goldsberry and W.S.S. Mackay, The government of Kerala declared ERAVIKULAM as a wildlife sanctuary in 1975. In 1978, it was elevated to the status of a national park. The fate of many lives depend on this 97 square kilometers of hills and valleys. Every day of our lives, every man, woman and child depend on living plants and animals for their welfare. That animals and plants should continue to exist is simply a matter of life and death, not only for them, but for us too. Every day, one species become extinct. As our species, the Homo sapiens, engage in prolific procreation, the rest engage in a battle for survival, save the cockroaches and the rodents. National parks and sanctuaries are nothing but zoos, a little bigger than the ones you see in cities. Why do we have to conserve them? So that they would continue to provide us food, clothing and fuel? So that the genetic resources be protected for our own benefit? So that they would provide us with fun and entertainment after a hard day's work? Take your pick, pragmatic or passionate reasons. There are goats in the mountains of the world, shy and elusive. They survive in the inaccessible land of craggy rocks and high precipices, nibbling the grass, nipping the leaves. The Nilgiri thar, Hemitragus hylocrius, is endemic to Western Ghats. Once its range extended all over the high altitude grasslands. Now they are confined to ERAVIKULAM. A few small herds are found scattered in patches of Ashambu, Anamalais and the Nilgiris. Once the delicacy of hunters' tables, the Varayadu is now endangered and therefore protected. Numbering less than 2,000, the Nilgiri thar's habitat is the cliff sides of above 1,200 meters. The male is almost black, far heavier and stockier than the female. The white carpal patches on the front and outside of the forelegs, the silvery saddle patch on the loins, and the white facial stripe which drops from the forehead towards the corners of the mouth clearly distinguishes the buck from does and juveniles. The back curving horns are deeply wrinkled and annual rings indicate the age of the animal. The female is yellowish or greyish brown with a white belly. They move in groups, nursing and nurturing their offspring. Most adult male mammals, man could be an exception, walk alone except when they have to mate. The drama is reenacted, the drama of love and courting, of supremacy and subjugation, played over and over since life began. Nature, with her lights, symbols and showers, provide the background, the prelude. The cycle begins anew. How wonderful it would be to be born here, to be born by these hills. her bounties to be feasted upon, her bosom full of love and warmth. In the Malayalis visual measure, the elephant is of, elephantine proportions. What else? Mount Everest or sperm whale would mean nothing to him. In terms of affection and adoration too, elephant is big for the Malayali. The smell of elephant dung is the smell of our forests. If you happen to put your feet on some, just be happy. All is well with the world. As a forest fragment, as these green corridors are laid asunder, the elephants pause in the twilight of their memory of this land and the vacuum before their feet. The tropical forests are a haven for many wildlife. ERAVIKULAM, as one of the best protected areas in the Western Ghats, is home to several of them like the gaur, sambur, Nilgiri langur, Malabar giant squirrel, and Asiatic wild dog. You may mistake him for the familiar frisky fellow in your garden. But look close. He's the rarely seen dusky squirrel. It's quite likely this is the first live footage on him. Rare is he too, the small clawed otter. The ruddy mongoose, striped-necked mongoose and the Nilgiri marten have also been spotted at ERAVIKULAM. Every ecosystem has its own unique food chain or food pyramid. At the apex stand the great predators like the tigers and leopards. There are few in ERAVIKULAM, but that has been their fate everywhere, once the vermin of the Indian jungle. There have been several sightings, more though of its scat. Among wildlifers, sighting a tiger in the wild is a cherished opportunity, but hallowed are those who have seen the Pohayan. Like many other wildernesses of the world, ERAVIKULAM too has its mythical or near mythical creatures. The one in ERAVIKULAM is called the Pohayan.
എരികുളം നാഷണൽ പാർക്കിനിടയ്ക്ക് 3 സൈസ് പുലിയുണ്ട്. 3 സൈസ് എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഒരു പുലി വരയൻ, പിന്നൊന്ന് പുള്ളിപ്പുലി, പിന്നെ ഒരു സൈസ് പുകയൻ. പുകയൻ പുലിനെ ഞങ്ങൾ നേരിട്ട് കണ്ടവരാണ്.
എരികുളം കാട്ടിൽ പുകയൻ ഉള്ളതാണ്, പക്ഷേ വരയാട്ടിൻ്റെ കളറാണ്, പുക കളർ. സാധാരണ വരയാട്ടിൻ്റെ കയറ്റും വണ്ണം ഉള്ളതാണ്, പുക നിറയാണ്, ശകല അകലെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ടത്. സാധാരണ പുലിക്ക് പോലെ തന്നെ വാലും
Of equal importance, but of extravagant beauty, are the birds in the park. 93 species have been recorded here. Fewer than in the lower climes, but delighting are the birds of ERAVIKULAM. Come the month of March, these hills resonate with their songs. The Nilgiri white-eye, Nilgiri pipit, Malabar whistling thrush, red-whiskered bulbul, Kerala laughing thrush, black-winged kite, the omnipresent pied bush chat and his mate, and grey-headed flycatcher are just a few of them. While the velvet-fronted nuthatch is busy shopping for nest-building materials, the black bulbul looks out for a mate. The verditer flycatcher and the scimitar babbler are already in the business of raising a family. But if birds lay eggs, can snakes be far behind? As thin and rady as the grass, the rusty-colored wine snake is the literal snake in the grass. The green pit viper hangs motionless, ready to strike at any prey that passes by. This is the elusive shield-tailed snake, which spends most of its time beneath the ground feeding on earthworms. Of the two Salia lizards, the Anomalise salia is restricted to the Anomalise, Palanis and hills of South Kerala. Insects may seem insignificant to the layman, but for those who are in love with nature, every little millipede, Of the two Salia lizards, the Anomalise salia is restricted to the Anomalise, Palanis and hills of South Kerala. Insects may seem insignificant to the layman, but for those who are in love with nature, every little millipede, every butterfly is a joy forever. Some are endangered and endemic, like this red disc bush brown butterfly found only in the forests south of Palghat Gap. Things are not the way they seem in nature. A slender, colorful and thorny twig may suddenly start moving. Yes, it is the stick insect, that master of camouflage of the insect world. Wildlife conservation is not just a matter of tigers and thars. The tiger in Periyar or the Nilgiri thar in ERAVIKULAM are the focus species. Conservation is more about preserving the land in which these creatures live. Unless their habitat is protected, the chances of survival of such endangered species would be hopeless. The international scientific community noticed ERAVIKULAM when the legendary field biologist Dr. George Schaller came here in the late 60s as part of his studies on mountain goats. The studies by E.R.C. Davidar and Clifford Rice in the mid-80s raised the momentum of conservation efforts. The high-altitude grasslands of ERAVIKULAM cohabit with the Shola forests. Classified as the southern montane wet temperate forests, Sholas are dense evergreen patches found along stream banks, gullies or in hollows. Epiphytes such as mosses orchids and ferns abound in the sholas. The temperature inside the shola is a few degrees less than the outside. In the vast glaring exposure of the grasslands, the shola offers shelter and privacy for many creatures. One of the vital functions of the grassland shola ecosystems is their role in the water cycle. The spongy soil absorbs every drop of water and stores it. The moisture surfaces in the shola to emerge as little pools that slowly flow down the gully, joining countless others to make the perennial streams that flow down to the plains. In this sea of green grass, flowers of 1,000 hues bloom. ERAVIKULAM may be best known for its Kurinji that blossoms once in 12 years, but a zillion others cluster themselves in every corner like shy, young, pretty women waiting their turn at the dance. The national park has a rich array of orchids, both terrestrial and epiphytic, numbering more than 100 species. For species diversity of impatiens, the national park stands at the top in the whole of the Western Ghats complex. Out of the total recorded in Western Ghats of about 60 species, more than 40 occur in ERAVIKULAM. Several of them are endemic to the high ranges and found nowhere else in Western Ghats. It doesn't matter to nature whether one thing is gentle or bestial. The adjectives are merely an expression of our reaction and have nothing to do with the object in front of us. To one who realizes this truth, the insectivorous Drosera is as fascinating as a beautiful orchid. One may never step into the same river twice, but in ERAVIKULAM, one can see the same scenes, the same silhouettes, the same sholas years apart. Perhaps it is that bit of eternity that draws you so close to this place. This is a place where one would like to rest forever.